Welcome back, students taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications. We're covering the theory videos for Chapter 14, which is installment buying, and this is the second video out of however many that it's going to require. So in the last video, we covered the cost of installment buying, understanding what the amount financed is, the total finance charge, and the deferred payment price. In this video, we're going to cover APR, and if we get done a little early, we'll just cover a little bit more. Okay, but for the major thrust of this, we're looking at APR. Okay, and the title of this video is Calculating APR by the Table 14.1. The Truth in Lending Act requires that when APR is annual percentage rate, okay, annual percentage rate. And the annual percentage rate is good to know, because that allows you to be able to do comparisons, okay, or to find out what your true cost is. And the Truth in Lending Act requires that when creditors state the APR, it must be accurate to the nearest 1/4 of 1%. Okay? If not, in the table, then we need to use interpolation, which is not covered in this textbook. So, this can get to be quite complicated in the calculation of it. And we're only going to be using the tables in the textbook, okay, or the Business Math Handbook. Right now, I did provide one portion of table 14.4 here in this slide, and as you can see, and I know it's hard to see because I copied the whole page, but you can look at this in your textbook. Across the top is interest rates, and down the side is the number of periods, and it gives you, and when you locate the interest rate with a number of periods, it tells you what your APR is, your annual percentage rate is. Okay, now this was 1/2 of that table, and like I said, a full set of tables is in the Business Math Handbook, so you're going to have to refer to the Business Math Handbook more frequently. I'm not going to reproduce everything from this table and not be able to see it. It's easier for you just to look at the Business Math Handbook or the tables that are in the text. Okay, so if you're let me go back here. If for some reason, all right, like this table goes by 1/4 of a percent. Okay, it goes from 10 to 10 1/4 to 10 1/2 to 11, 11 1/4. And if you get stuck in between, two percentages there, you can use the technique called interpolation, and you can learn about that yourself. And again, it's quite complicated, especially when it's not as simple as the midpoint between two points. Between two percentages. I mean, think about it. If I had 10% and 11%, it's easy to find the midpoint, and I had these two factors or these two percentages, it's easy to find the midpoint between those. But what happens when I have between 10 and 11%, I'm looking for 10.37%. Well, that's why you would use the interpolation technique, but that's beyond the scope of this textbook. It gets into a lot of heavy math in order to be able to arrive at that. So we're pretty much going to just rely upon the tables here and work off of those. And when you're looking at this table, just realize that, like I said, here's the percentages across the top, here's the number of payments down the side, and you end up, in previous chapters when we were looking at present value and future value of a lump sum or an annuity, we were calling them factors. Okay, you were looking up a particular number, okay, and then you were using that number to multiply, times that principal amount. Okay, well, in this case here, what we have is when we look across the interest rates across the top and the number of periods, number of payments down the side, we can actually find when we cross-reference it, we get the actual annual percentage rate. Okay, so if you don't do it like that, then you actually have to start doing all of the math. And the math basically says, okay, I have a finance charge. So what I have to calculate that finance charge, and then I'm going to divide it by the amount financed, and whatever I get for that amount, I'm going to multiply it by $100 in order to get my APR. Okay, but like I said, it's a lot easier just to look up the percentage and the number of payments on the table, okay, in order to get the APR. Right? And as you remember, this is the theory video, so I'm not going to get into too many examples here, but because we'll have plenty of that to do with the drill problems and the word problems. Okay, so there's the annual percentage rate table per $100, and remember that's per $100. Okay, so depending upon the problem, if you're talking about 1,000, well, that's 10 times the $100, right? If I have $1,000, I have to divide it by 100, and that means I have to factor it by 10, right? But you'll see that again in the when we're doing the drill problems and word problems. Okay, let's see here. Do I want to go on? Yeah, I'm going to stop the video here, and then I will. No, I've got 3 more. Yeah, no, I'm going to continue on here. Okay. And cover this slide, and then I'll stop and pick up in the next video. So, this here is calculating the monthly payment by formula and using table 14.2. Okay, so again, in using table 14.2, this is only one half of the table. Refer to the tables in the textbook whenever you're doing the problems. I'm not going to be repeating these tables in the drill or word problems. I'll just be quoting from the tables or from the business math handbook. Okay, but if we want to do, if we need to calculate the monthly payment, we can do it by the formula, and the formula here is, our finance charge plus the amount financed. All right, and we're going to divide that by the number of payments for the loan. Okay, so if you think about it, and let's just throw in some numbers here. If I had the amount financed was $100,000, and say it's at 20% interest, okay, so my finance charge would be $20,000. Okay, well, 100,000 plus the 20,000 is 120,000. Okay, and let's say the number of payments, and I'm going to keep it simple, I'm just going to say 12, whether it's 12 years where I'm making a payment once a year, or let's just call it 12 months because I'm paying it off an entire year. It doesn't matter, it's the number of payments. So I end up with 120,000 divided by the 12, and my monthly payment ends up being $1,000. It's basically that simple. But you have to be able to, you have to know how much your amount financed is. You have to be able to calculate that finance charge and then know how many payments. Knowing how many payments is very similar to, the compounding. If you're told, when I was compounding interest, I'm sorry, when we were calculating the number of payments. Okay, if we're told that this loan is going to be for 30 years, and I want to know what the monthly payment is, well, I'd have to multiply by 12 in order to know that the number of payments is 360. You're familiar with that concept from the compounding interest chapter. So that's how we figure out the monthly payment, using the formula itself, or we can, come down and look at the the chart. Okay, and so it's the monthly payment per 1,000 to pay principal and interest. Okay, so you know, you'll be able to cross-reference on the table itself. All right, so with that said, I'm going to stop here and pick up in the next video for the, and it'll be the last one for the remaining subject matter. Okay, so I'll see you in part 3.